Alright. So a lot of people have been asking me, I build turbo kits, what do I do? A lot of it's just custom work. I don't really, I mean, you could buy pre-built flanges and stuff, which is I recommend, but for the most part, you gotta get yourself a T, or you know, whatever turbo you're running with, if that's a T3, T4, T6. But what I'm going to tell you to do, unless you have like a bend pack machine, is you need pre-bent 90s, 45s. You can pick those up on Amazon, but don't buy anything. Like, you got to look at the thickness. You can't buy something that's like 1.2 thick, or you know, 1.5 millimeters. Like, it needs to be like a 2.0. You know, the thicker the steel, the stronger it is to hold up. You won't blow through it as easy when you're welding. Another thing to do is pick up a bunch of these V-bands that have the actual locks in them, so they clip together and they'll hold the weight of each other and they can't slide off. You can buy just the V-bands without that ledge, but it's kind of garbage. Like, they just slide all around and it puts all the weight on this instead of putting the weight on this little ledge right here. So anyways, basically I had too small of a turbo. I was choking the fuck out the exhaust side. So I'm moving up to an S480 with a T4 housing on 1.25 AR, and I think that's an 80 something millimeter, not too sure. Take all this for granted. This is just the way I do things. Doesn't mean I am 100% right. A lot of times people do everything in a different way, as I should say. It's just, this is the way I've done it. I've always learned to do it. I don't have all the fancy machines and whatnot, so this is just kind of how I do things. Most of the time you want expanded parts so that way they slide into one another. Sometimes you just can't get it, or if you know a good exhaust shop, like if you can get all your fittings the way you need them, you can expand them to the size you need, so they slip into one another like a slip joint, and then you can weld the edge. But most of the time I just line them up perfectly, try to get them like dead accurate, or I put V-bands so that way they are accurate, and I just weld them from there. If you're off a little bit, it ain't gonna kill it. If you can size them up and over, it lets you tweak and move the metal around so that way you can get a better angle on what you want, versus if you're just butt connecting, you have to, or butt welding, you actually have to like be more precise with the cuts. Now you can fill in bridge gaps. It's kind of iffy on how you want to do that. I don't really care. I ain't trying to win no contest or anything, but so yeah. So originally I had, as you guys know and seeing pictures, I had my original turbo hanging from the manifold like that. So I would cross over into the T and then came out, and I was going through a 80 AR T4 flange. I mean, this thing's baby. It's like 2 1/4 inch in here, and I'm feeding 2 3-inch pipes inside of it. Now I could have probably used CO2 or like an air system as a boost controller to override it, and like it would have held it down and probably gave me what I want, but currently I'm only on spring pressure. I also run blow through, not fuel injection, so that kind of throws I don't fucking know, that throws something into the fire pile, so you'll get a lot of fuel injection hate, but I don't know, I like carburetors. So today, instead of hanging it again, because that's a lot of weight for that S480, I'm going to be building an actual T that sits straight up and then coming down. So I'm actually going to hang it and then build bracing to actually hold the weight up of this turbo, and then, you know, going with my old hat system. So my buddy of mine had some of these pre-bent 3-inch pipe. It was just random bends, but it looked more like that off an exhaust system he had. So I just kind of cut it at the weld where I needed it and sliced it back, smooth the edge over, and slide a V-band. So I still gotta file this out, but I'm gonna rough guess everything currently and then take it all apart and, you know, tack once tack everything, like right here I got 1, 2, 3. I still got to grind this weld off. I don't care that it's ugly, but mainly I'm trying to make sure I'm away from the alternator belt, so that way I can move the alternator still out and still have plenty of room to do what I got to do and avoid my fuel system. So what I'm looking at is if I put it like this, where it locks into one another, I can actually take the T4 flange and tilt it away, tilt the turbo away from the engine. So I can actually pull the whole thing, you know, and roll it away from the actual engine bay itself. S10s don't have a lot of room. They find themselves landing a lot of twin turbo setup right off the manifolds to the side and then going in. Or they put the turbos in the bed. That's a common spot. But to me, that's a lot of extra plumbing, pipe working. Usually got to run a scavenging system for the oil. So I don't like to do all that. So I'm just going to make it work in the front. Remote mount the radiator to the rear. So I guess it kind of cancels each other out. So that's pretty much what I got so far. I got to finish cutting off that flange. The bandsaw won't fit, so I'm probably going to have to slice it with a cutoff wheel the remainder of the way. And then it's kind of fucking angled stupid, so I'm going to have to do something with that and fix it. Yeah, so starting on this side, and I'm going to work my way over. So currently, this is what I got. This is my old T4Y. You can buy this on Amazon probably. I mean, you can get it from everywhere, but Amazon's the easiest for people to find nowadays. It was a T4 flange with two 2.5 inch collectors that I sliced off and upsized and moved into a 3 inch. So now I have two 3 inch connections. This system would probably be better as a 2.25, 2.5, but I'm preparing for the future because I want to actually get into the goals of making 1,500 horsepower, but as budget allows. So I'm just going to go ahead with a 3 inch system. It's a small enough run here, so it's not like, versus like if you ran 3 inch all the way to the back, you'd fucking kill it. It'd take forever to bring it up on boost, you know, because of all the gas has to expand to spin the turbine. So 3 inches is just the way I'm going about it. I'd rather go bigger now and suffer a little bit than to have to deal with it again later. Tighten these V-rings, that way they don't move as much. I'm going to go ahead and tack this and this. Pretty much think that's where this is going to land. Now, see how I see it pointing outwards. I need it to rotate. So if I clock it there, now I'm dead even with the engine bay, roughly. So I'm going to leave this clamp loose. And then I'm going to rotate where this needs to be. Right there. So that's about where I want it. Now I am currently using 025 wire. Crank the heat up in voltage, and to me it's just a little easier to weld, it's prettier, and I can focus where I need to versus and drag it and make it look nice versus big globs, because that's what I had before. Up. It'll move for what it's got to be. Alright. Move around fucking sucks. So. Now usually when I'm mocking things up with these kind of clamps, I'll put like a exhaust clamp around it to hold it in place. Fucking sucking today, so I don't have that. So we're just going to make moves. There. Now all these clamps will get moved eventually. We're just kind of building across the hot side. Another cool thing about using V-bands like this is you can rotate and move the turbo however you want. So we will take this back because it's going to be tilted away from the engine. That's how we're looking. So I think right there is where it's going to ultimately land. So I'm going to go ahead and tack that to just to go. Now some of this will pull. Just going to have to make do. But ultimately, you're just trying to make sure you're away from everything. Fuck up. Always turn the gas off because my shit likes to leak. Alright. This can't totally set. That is going to fit perfectly. Yep. Alright. Now we're going to get from over there to this way. So, bend 3. I'm thinking like this. So, I have a 45 to come down. That will put us kind of right on the money, where it needs to be. And we'll get into wastegate placement later, but mainly you want the wastegate in direct line of the exhaust. Like, you don't want it to have to hard 90 out. So like this one, for example, since this is a twin scroll setup, you're gonna have to put a wastegate on each side. Now you could just put one big wastegate, but if it's on this side, it'll make this side like an uneven balance, and it'll kind of take away the twin scroll effect. So 2 wastegates in this situation is better than 1, unless you have like some kind of weird crossover where you just gotta do your homework on that. But I run 2. If one side sees a different pulse versus this, now technically it's not all the way divided up, so you could theoretically just get away with 1, but I'd rather just have 2. If it bothers me enough, I could just disconnect 1 and shut it or something and cap it, and then I could just run 1 or whatever, you know. But anyways, it's in the direct line of the exhaust, so if you see it's coming, before it can make this turn and go into the compressor, it's going to come down and hit the wastegate and then vent out. So this side, I'm not going to put it on the corner, I'm actually going to put it in a direct line over here somewhere. So that way, as it's coming, it'll turn, it can like wide off, essentially bleed, and then I will connect the 2 wastegates in a T to the block. And that's how we'll go about that. So yeah, now I'm going to cut that off and get right back to it.
Photo.
And there we go. Alright, we're back. So just death wheeled that off. Now, and I pulled the, I had rags stuffed in it, so that way the sparks didn't fly down in. Basically now, we're going to be working on our way to get that 45 to down. So we have 2 solid 45s and a nice piece here. This is a little bit longer. That might get us to where we want to go. So that's what I was telling you guys about butt welding earlier. So this, that's fucking hot as shit. This would put us pretty close, and it's a smooth bend. You want to avoid 90s as much as you humanly can. I'm not saying having some 90s is bad, but the smoother the radius and the smoother the exhaust, the better it is. Now sometimes you just can't. There's nothing you can do to get around it. This fucking fuel line's gonna have to move. I'll probably move it and plumb it underneath it, or something along those lines once I blow off all this metal shavings and whatnot. But I think this is gonna be our huckleberry right here. So if I can do that and force a twist like that. So, okay, so we are getting close. Very, very, very close. So, this theoretically needs about an inch cut off. This is going to be where you're going to have to kind of learn to guess. So we're going to keep this sleeve here. So this part is sleeved. So when you come out with a piece of 3 that's going to come out, you have to put a piece of stick out. You're going to want that in on a bevel, not a bevel, on a V-band, and you're going to want that piece to slide into this, so that way you can weld perfectly and it creates a great seal. Once you got that, then it's just a matter of going from there to there, essentially. So I need to cut about an inch off of this. I'm still not 100%. It's kind of, I don't really know exactly. Like, yeah, I could do a bunch of math and figure it out, but I'll be here all day. I usually just kind of guess it and get it close. So, see, this side's 2 beveled, so I need a smooth transact. So, you can pick up 40 Z-bands for about 35 bucks from Evil Energy. It's actually really good stuff for the price. Their fittings are pretty solid too. I've used their fittings. Some people say they've leaked and they've had nothing but issues. I've never had issues, so to speak. So I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe it's the person who's using them don't know what they're doing, or I don't know. Maybe I've just been really, really lucky. Now there is some fittings that I won't gamble with, and that's those 16s, and I have 12s here and 16s. I don't really gamble with those. I'd rather just bite the bullet. But that's a conversation for another day. So I need a piece of 3, about 4 inches first. Let's get this one. So we're going to tilt down. Okay? We want to go down. Yes. So I need to cut a handsome amount off of this. So about to where the 4th line is right here. That needs to move. Alright. Oh, hopefully it didn't slice too much. Damn, I don't like this. Oh, that's money, dude. That's fucking money. Oh, hot jambalaya. I need about an inch. I need about an inch off this. And then we got it. These pieces are getting here. Boom. Alright. Now, where's my tape measure? See, I am doing horrible right now. Tape measure. No, I bought like 7 of these bitches. Never around. I'll just get out a tape measure. So, this, stick it up. Back with you.